Hi, I'm Pip Waller. This has been Human, and today I'm continuing to talk about perimenopause and menopause, and I'm going to talk about hot flushes today. So, there's sort of hot flushes and hot sweats, and flushes are you get hot. Often you feel it rising up your body like, and you don't necessarily sweat with a hot flush. You can have a hot flush or hot flash, they call them in America, I think, but you often get red and you're very, very hot. There's a lot of energy in one of those things. And then you can also get hot sweats or sweats where you get the flush and you get a massive amount of sweating as well. And these can be quite debilitating and quite serious, especially because if you have them at night, then women literally wake up in the night sometimes absolutely wringing wet, so having had such a massive sweat that they need to actually get out of bed and change their night clothes. I thought just to say something generally, a few things generally, and then to talk about some naturopathic herbal approaches to treating them. So generally, yeah, they're quite debilitating. And one just very simple thing to remember is that if you're having a lot of sweat, then you need to make sure that your water and salt intake is enough to keep it balanced, because you can get very dehydrated. You're having a lot of extra sweating more than normal. And sweat, of course, doesn't just contain water, it contains salt. So really make sure that you keep hydrated, possibly even making the hydration drink. You can find that powerful, simple remedy for hydration on my channel. It's a litre of water, 1 teaspoon of salt, 8 teaspoons of sugar, makes a hydrotonic drink. That's a drink that's the same salt and sugar ratio as your blood. So when you drink it, you're able to retain it. Really make sure you don't get dehydrated, because dehydration, the sweats themselves make you debilitated. And one of the reasons for that is the dehydration. And obviously the fact is, if you're having them at night, you are waking up, you're having broken sleep. So the other thing about the sweats is to say, just as a general thing, they're usually caused by the pituitary. The hormone, the female hormones are governed by the pituitary, which is a small pea-like gland. If you put a finger, if you sort of point it between your eyebrows and you point between your temples, where those two fingers meet, there's a tiny little gland the size of a pea. It's called the pituitary gland. Sometimes it's called the master gland because it makes so many hormones that control the other hormones in the body. So the pituitary gland, two of its hormones, they're called gonadotrophic stimulating hormone and follicle gonadotrophic hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. And those are the two hormones that go and control the secretion of progesterone and estrogen by the ovaries. And it's during perimenopause and their menopause, when the ovaries they're slowing down their production of estrogen, the FSH from the pituitary, the follicle stimulating hormone, keeps kind of trying to make the ovaries fire. And generally that happens, often it's roughly an hourly process. So sometimes you can have really a hot flush, like every hour you're getting another burst of hormones from the pituitary, and that gives you the hot flush. So how to actually deal with them? Well, think about the thing that I said to do with your adrenal glands, and in the previous video, and in making sure that you haven't got too much xenoestrogen and you've got a good general diet. And then there are various herbs that can be really helpful for controlling and reducing hot flushes. And what I'm going to say is that it's actually best to go and see a medical herbalist or a naturopath if you can, because they'll tailor the medicine specifically to your condition. But I know that lots of people don't actually have access to one. So what I'm going to say is, if you try treating yourself and it doesn't work, don't think, oh, well, that's it, herbs won't work for me. That's then when you need to go and see somebody that can think about the whole picture and think about you in a much more very detailed and holistic way. But one simple remedy for hot flushes that many women find helpful is sage. And that is Salvia officinalis, or there's a few various, Salvia triloba is also another good one that you can use. But the sage family contains members which can be really helpful to reduce sweating. So one way to do that is to make a tea, a strong infusion, and have it every night cold before you go to bed. If you're having a lot of flushes, you might want to take the sage a few times. Just have sage tea continuously and see what you can do. Don't make it really weak, and then if it doesn't work, think it's not going to work. go for a really strong, it is pretty strong flavour, so you might not be able to tolerate it, then you can probably get sage in capsule form as well. Another famous herb that loads of people know about is black cohosh, Simicifuga racemosa. You might find that that's useful for your hot flushes. And then wild yam, which is Dioscorea, and also I like to use that together with red clover, trifolium. So trifolium, red pretense, red clover, and wild yam Dioscorea together can be a really helpful mix for hot flushes. So those are some simple things to try. Also, I would absolutely suggest that everybody menopausal, age perimenopausal, takes a good, really good quality multivitamin, multi-mineral, because you're losing lots of goodness in your sweat. So make sure you keep up your nutrient level really well. Again, I've said this before, but if you're not sure where to go to buy them, you can message me and I'll let you know. I'll give you some suggestions to get the really good quality. And I keep remembering this and then forgetting it. Something else I want to say about sweats. That's another thing that happens actually during menopause. It's quite interesting. Perimenopause, it can start to happen, and it comes back. It does come back afterwards, but maybe not quite as much as it did before. And that's your memory, your ability to remember things. Jolly good, it's come back. So here's an interesting naturopathic thinking about hot flushes and why we might have them, and that is that menstruation, like the in the menstrual blood, it's an excretory route from the body. That means it's a way we can put things, the body can put things into that menstrual blood that then is excreted from the body. So if we've had years of menstruation, that was one excretory route, it's going to stop now. Coming up to menopause, it's going to stop. So the body likes to have like a big spring clean, a major deep clean, detox. So this is a naturopathic theory, which is that if you're toxic, if there's toxicity in your body, and that can be environmental toxins, it can be your diet's not been that great, or it can be even things that they're not necessarily toxic for someone else, but your body hasn't really liked them. So certain foods that you're intolerant to, or not allergic, because if you're allergic, you know straight away and then you stop them. But intolerant means you don't necessarily even know, it's just creating low levels of symptoms. So if you are having a lot of extreme hot flushes or hot sweat, it's a useful thing to think about, is to think, maybe I'm actually a bit toxic and I need to do a proper good detox. So that's something else to look into. I can't remember if I've made a detox video, what with being postmenopausal, but I can tell you that my book, Deeply Holistic, what's it called? A Guide to Intuitive Self-Care, Deeply Holistic, published by North Atlantic Books a couple of years ago. This is a really good book. I was looking things up today. I thought, I like that. Anyway, it's got some quite useful information about a simple detox in there, but you can also find lots of information about how to do a naturopathic holistic detox. You can look online and do it. So do a detox, you'll find that really helps to diminish your hot sweats. Anyway, lovely. Thanks for listening. I'm Pip Waller. This is Being Human, and to be continued.